Greetings, nerds. This is Scene a Nerd. I'm your host, Sarah Belmont, and with me, as always, is our Mr. Producer, Will Polk. How are you doing tonight, Will?
Doing very well, Sarah, but glad to be back on our Monday night.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
are back here, and we have two shows to talk about.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We are wrapping up Gen V. I mean, I know it's the penultimate episode this week, and I know we're finally going to get around to starting Severance season 2. So,
Yeah, we had to go back and renew our Apple Plus subscriptions to watch
yeah, yeah,
Severance.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I did that, and then I watched the shows, of course.
Yeah.
And yesterday, I I know the morning show is
Mhm.
already like 5 episodes in.
Yeah.
So I contemplated and was like, "Oh, I'll just throw one on. It'll be
Yeah.
fine." Um, I'm caught up. And so here's my thing about the morning show. It's not my favorite.
Hmm.
It's not it's easy for me to watch it. And there are storylines that I like to follow and there's storylines I could care less about.
Mhm.
Mainly, a lot of times, Bradley, Reese Witherspoon character. I don't care about her storylines. For some reason, her character just annoys me.
Hmm.
So but I realized over the course of the 5 episodes why, despite me not really liking a lot of the characters,
Yeah.
um, but granted, sometimes not liking a character makes them all the more entertaining.
Oh yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah.
I think what I enjoy about it the most is the writer's abilities to bring to have real events that occurred
Mhm.
while they were writing the show,
Mhm.
um, occur on the show, and for the newsroom A and B to react to the
Ah.
breaking news. And so it's similar to my feelings about the pit from earlier
Ah,
this
okay.
year.
Yeah.
Like, yes, okay, the pit is a lot less soap drama than than the morning show. But
Mhm.
what I like about the morning show is also what I believe is the greatest strength of the pit. It's a real workplace
Ah, got it.
environment, and it's a real study on journalism and the ethics of journalism. And I don't know if I've ever mentioned this on the show over the last almost 10 years, but I have my degree in broadcast journalism.
I know.
So
Yeah.
watching it, I kind of get envious. I'm just like,
The
ooh,
path
that
it could have been.
seems
Yeah.
like seems like so much fun,
Yeah.
specifically in the control center,
Mhm.
behind the scenes. And now that I think about it, it's why I also liked or loved the show The Newsroom from back in the
Mhm.
day, Aaron
Oh, yeah.
Sorkin's
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's funny. I will end up watching the final 5 episodes. I don't know if I'm just gonna wait and then binge them like I did the first 5, or I'll just
Mhm.
pick up week to week. Who knows? There's a
Yeah.
lot of stuff. Netflix is gonna kill me for the next few weeks because it's dropping a lot of new things,
Yeah.
or second seasons of things. Like
Mhm.
Nobody Wants This season 2 is coming out this weekend, so
Okay. Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
have that spoiled.
Yeah. I hear you. I hear you. Yeah. I know there's a few like documentaries and a couple other things on Netflix that I want to check out. But,
Yeah, that
yeah.
is Will. Documentaries, like real serious stuff. I'm talking about Nobody Wants It and a few reality TV shows.
Or, yeah, or if you missed K-pop Demon Hunters the first you know time around, you can either catch it on Netflix or it's going to be I think it's going to be in the theaters again Halloween weekend. So,
Well, even if it wasn't going back in theaters, you could have caught it on Netflix still.
Yeah, but if you want to see it on the big screen, I'm just
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
doing
I
a
know.
PSA for folks who missed out the last time. You could do it if you missed the last time. It's happening again.
I tracked. I just didn't follow, like, or you could watch it on Netflix. I'm like, "No, I don't think that's your point."
Yeah.
But but yeah. All right. Well, enough about that. We'll get to Apple Plus in a little bit. But first we have to talk Gen V season 2 episode 7 Hell Week. The Office of Student Conduct reminds all students that hazing is strictly forbidden at GodU. This includes using degrading names, forcing embarrassing attire, or animal like treatment. I get the synopsis, but
Yeah.
what bothers me about this week's synopsis is also why I'm like, I don't think this episode should have been called Hell Week, because that was such a small point. Like it was just this little note. It was probably the least entertaining part of this entire episode.
Hmm.
Um, but I was thinking about this leading up to getting on the mics with you, Will.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have very similar feelings about this episode that I did last week.
Hmm.
And and it's so I'm a bit negative about it, and just because overall and we talked about this a little bit last week. I appreciate when characters make choices that are not predictable.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of predictableness,
Yeah.
but I want to start by talking about something that I did not predict, and I did see the Gen V writing that I love.
Okay.
And that has to do with the whole conversation that was ongoing through most of the episode between Cate and Marie.
Hmm.
And it's
Yeah.
not that I expected Marie to heal Cate. That's not or like her reasons for not wanting to. It was more about Kate's Kate's whole every now and then she would mention something like this is what they do. This is how
Hmm.
they control you. They boost you up. They say things. And what I found so clever in the writing is we would have that conversation between Cate and Marie where Cate is really trying to say, I understand why you're upset. I understand why you don't trust me, but you don't get it. You don't get what how the manipulation that
Hmm.
occurred
Hmm.
to get me to that point. And the irony is that is what we're seeing occur with Marie.
Yep.
Because in the very next scene, then you have Marie on the phone with Cypher, and Cypher starts saying exactly the things that Cate was brainwashed with. And
Yep.
what and it goes back into last week about how we are saying Godolkin and the top 1% and this hierarchy system that occurs. And um so I thought that was really that's what I thought was the most unexpected thing that occurred in this episode for me, and where I really I really like that, because we even got a little bit of that from Polarity as well, because it was really the 3 of them through most of the episode.
Hmm.
But I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the whole manipulation thing really that really did resonate with me as well, as far as the real
Mhm,
standout points in the episode, because it truly all throughout the season we have seen Cypher, and of course we did get the big reveal and all that, and I know we'll get into that some. It went a little, we were on point, but just a little off, but not way off. But the bigger point for me was that, and bringing that up is just we saw the manipulation as far as this, for for the ends of basically building Marie up,
Mhm.
and and you know maybe to get her to do what, basically do what she did. And we talked about this last week. It's like, where's the adult in the room? And I think Polarity was trying to be that adult in the room and just trying to like steer them to steer the kids in the right direction. But Marie was just, I think to your point, um, that's what's so insidious about this school and Vault and Godolkin, and how they can, how powerful it is. And it was, I really appreciated how Cate was really, she's like, look, I'm exhibit A for how all this works. How like Shetty used me last time to get back at Homelander and the Soups, for killing my family on the plane, by not rescuing them. And this time around, it's, clearly getting Maurice built up so strong, such that she could heal heal Cypher Godolkin. So it was, yeah, I thought that was a very, very important point, in the episode. And also too, it just sort of like, really teeters on not only the manipulation, but also how these characters all have been dealing with their own battles throughout the season, and learning how to forgive themselves, for, you know, any failings that they may have had. Like I look at Kate, she's like, yeah, I was wrong, but,
Mhm.
but, you know, I see
Do
the errors
you
in my ways. Yeah,
I have a
yeah,
question because,
yeah,
well, I have 2 things because I wanna
yeah,
talk more about polarity because
yeah,
so I'll start there and then we'll circle back to Kate.
yeah.
Polarity.
Hmm.
I don't think I don't hmm, because you brought up he was the trying to be the adult in the room. I don't
Yeah.
think he was trying to be the adult in the room. I think that he was blinded by rage and revenge because of
Hmm.
Andre, and
Right.
rightfully so. I mean,
Yeah.
that will always overpower any desire to, albeit kind of shield these other, kids,
Hmm.
for lack of a better terms, because I know they're young adults technically.
Yeah.
But so I think that he also, because even when he witnesses Marie turn on her friends
Hmm.
and use her powers on them, the very thing she is vindicating Kate of,
Yeah.
he does look at her and says, "You can't do this, you can't do this." But then the moment she releases them, it's like, "All right, let's go back to what we were doing." And it's just like,
Yeah.
well, do you not think that maybe this person is not in the best headspace? Like maybe she's being a bit too stubborn, but I think both of them are kind of exhibit, which is ironic because polarity, another thing that happens to him in this episode is he now has been healed by Marie.
Hmm.
And I love that line that he says, like, I've been sick for so long, I forgot what it feels like to be healthy. I'm pretty sure that he says that
Yeah.
in the
He
episode.
does. He does.
Because I wonder if that had not happened, if he would have then more likely been like, no, we can't. But it was because he was healed and he was put back together and he realized he could actually be a match for Cypher's connection, that
Hmm.
then he pushed his chips all in, albeit like, come on, dummy. You can only do it for yourself. Why? You kind of allowed multiple brains to enter the room. And I'm just like, okay, that was a mistake. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I am, yeah, I think he definitely started the season as the adult, but between Andre's death and his own com- not his own issues with his powers. It's kind of like that has been allowing, like, I don't know where I'm going with that, but
Yeah, well, I mean, I think one place where you can go with that is, like to your point, you bringing up what he felt like I forgot what it feels like to be healthy. I mean that hits on so many levels
Mhm.
because one, yeah, the physical aspect of it, but also emotionally. I mean, he was, we've seen when we first saw Polarity this season, he was a broken man. He's
Oh,
lost his
mhm.
son. He's lost all the notoriety. I mean, he's, who cares, well, who gives a shit about all the other stuff? But I mean, he lost his son, and he was a broken man. And then by Marie not only healing him, but of course she heals him physically, but I think throughout, as he goes back to the school and as he's trying to get to the bottom of, get to the answers as far as what happened to Andre,
Mhm.
I think he's also been healing as well. And so now I think now he both the emotional scars and the physical scars are healed, you know, healed at that moment. And now he's like, okay, to your point, yeah, we'll distract Cypher while you go do your thing. and
Yeah.
and so yeah, so I think so I think that was sort of the why that storyline in particular was, as far as the A plot, really did stand out.
Yeah. He definitely, it'll be interesting in the finale with Polarity
Hmm.
because I feel as though for his character, I wonder if the events in that final sequence makes him suddenly realize, yeah, I'm healed and I'm healthy and I'm stronger than ever. So does that mean that I just let history repeat itself? Because
Hmm.
no, these aren't his kids, but these were friends of his, Andre's,
Yeah.
and there is some protection. So
Hmm.
is he going to allow what happened to Andre to, like, these kids to do the same?
Yeah.
Especially with the Vought influence. So we shall see. To go
Yeah.
back to Kate,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, how much do you believe her? Throughout the episode, she makes a lot of different offers, or
Hmm.
she presents her arguments. Like, I
Hmm.
swear I'm never going to use my powers on any of you again. And this is my thing, and we all know I love Kate. I don't 100% trust her.
I still don't either.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
and Marie even says it. It's just like, by healing you, I will give you that power back. And to allow, which is ironic because of what happens with Godolkin. I get it. It's complete foreshadowing. Granted,
Yeah.
this whole, like, what episode are we on? 6
7.
episodes of foreshadowing of that.
Yeah.
Um, but but we know how powerful Kate was.
Hmm.
So, as much as I know she needs to be fixed by the end of the season, I kinda also don't know what that does because we just saw Polarity get fixed,
Yeah.
but power corrupts.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. It does,
yeah,
and I
go ahead.
think they were. Yeah, I think that, and that's where they were kind of. I think they were kind of leaning into that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that was, you know, the you know, the increasingly behavior that we saw Marie have, more ruthless, more, just refusing to help Kate. I mean, because Marie's always been. We've seen her as an empathetic figure in this show.
Mhm.
I mean, she does, and that's especially when you can, when the way they basically juxtapose her versus Homelander.
Right.
Um, so, we know they're the only two stable ones that came out of Odessa. So they really are like making, drop, whereas, to your point, yeah, we know Kate was a villain last season. We saw what she did in The Boys season 4, just
Mhm.
teaming up with Homelander. So you're right. I mean, I s- I can understand where Marie is coming from as far as like, no, I just even words are worthless. I
Yeah.
need action.
Yeah, and it's really hard for action when you don't have that power, you
Hmm.
know? Because it's
Yeah.
kinda like, well, this is a catch-22 because to show you, like, through action, you need to give me the very thing that you don't want me to have because you're afraid of what I'll do with it, you know?
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, it's like with Marie, she definitely the thing about Marie is she's had a lot of guilt with her parents, right?
Yeah.
And Annabeth, and we find
Hmm.
out in this episode that Annabeth had a premonition about what happened. And
Hmm.
so all these years she's been dealing with guilt as well,
Hmm. Yeah.
especially with her powers. And and Marie, having gone through that situation, she's been forced to be so independent that I
Hmm.
think that's her biggest flaw
Yeah.
because she she's the one at the beginning who breaks herself out of what is that place called?
Elmira.
Elmira. And then everyone is looking at her like as being, "Oh, you're different because you're the only one who could have done it. Andre died trying to do it."
Hmm.
And then we start to see this interest from Cypher, and it just gets like you're able to then suddenly bring back your own sister to life.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
part of me is also just like, hey guys, could you remember that one time when she kind of did that in season 1 as well? I mean,
Hmm.
it was not as intense, but
No, it wasn't. But she did. Yeah. But we did see the healing. We saw the healing. Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, that's what got Newman to like. Oh, okay. Yeah. And others to be
right,
like, oh yeah, yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's also the to see her so frail after she heals people.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It
So
does take
so
out.
then
Yeah.
that starts to wonder because Annabeth also has this other premonition in this episode, that will foreshadow something to happen in the finale because it did not occur in this episode.
No.
Um,
Yeah. 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 Because I mean, it was just like, was it? Yeah. Blood on her, truly blood on her hands, and and because I was wondering, especially when she was going to say, going to heal Godolkin, or
mhm.
if that, I was like, okay, now when's it coming in? When's it coming? Who's gonna explode? I was like, okay, I was just like, I thought, especially given to your how they set up the fact that Annabeth saw Marie um, accidentally killing her parents prior to her getting her period.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I have to give it to him. I know Kripke was like frustrated by like everybody figuring out what the true story, about the reveal, but I did think that someone was going to get, especially given this show, someone was going to get killed in that room.
Oh, see,
Maybe
I
Polaris.
did not.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, yeah.
I don't know, for some reason, her premonition,
Mm,
it's not as though I had it in my mind somebody was gonna die.
mm,
For some reason, I did not jump to that conclusion. I thought that, okay, we're gonna see something and then realize that it was completely taken out of context and blah, blah.
mm,
I
mm,
don't know why. At no point I had no there were no stakes for me in this episode.
mm, mm.
The
Yeah.
biggest stake was, are you gonna heal Cate? That was
Well,
it.
sometimes, and sometimes, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, we've gotten to this
Absolutely.
place. Yeah, we've gotten to this place where we, the Game of Thrones and whatever of it all, where the penultimate is like the big thing, and then we just saw it last week with Peacemaker. It was just like the big thing was episode 7, and episode 8 or whatever was kind of like, yeah.
Well, see, and it, I will say, watching this episode, it's also not in my mind like this is penultimate, something big is going to happen. I don't know why.
Mhm.
I just was taking the story for what it is and just being
Yeah.
annoyed that, yeah, it was something you said at the beginning, we kind of called it. Yeah, we called it. Well, I'm not even
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah.
say we kinda called it. Yeah, okay. There was a line where Cypher said, "That's my father." So we took that verbatim. It's not his father. Do I think it should have been the father? Yes. That would have made
Yeah.
that so much more interesting for all the points
Yeah.
that I explained 3 or 4 episodes ago.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we still it was pretty obvious what was going on, and then the whole thing about the other thing that I wish that they would have done is have it been like to fully take over that guy's body as opposed to, no, I just need you to heal my old body.
Mhm.
It just it just screams missed opportunities.
Yeah.
And it also, the actor who played our original Cypher, for all puns and like our actual Cypher, was
Mhm.
doing such a good job
He
that
was. Yeah.
to watch the final scene with Godolkin, I was like, can we can't have another season with this guy. No, no, I
I don't know.
don't.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we did get we did get him like killing the pledge and stuff. So we did see step one of the culling of the school. But I agree. I would have I I would have preferred the full transference over to the actor who played Cypher. I guess we learned his name is Doug. Yeah, is it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it really it,
Doug from Blockbuster. So I mean, he's been controlling them for at least 20 years or so.
yeah, yeah. It for for a long time, and it's
Yeah.
quite sad. I was also thinking they didn't explain, and I don't know if they will explain, but Doug, like when he stabbed his hand,
Hmm.
but he also claimed like it's been bandaged for 3 episodes or something like that. And
Yeah.
he claims like it doesn't heal. And then when he was like when polarity was attacking him, like I can heal. Okay, does that mean that Doug was at one point injected with Gen V? Like, does he
No.
have a like some kind of
No.
healing
No.
power? No.
No. No.
Then
Doug was just a dude. He was
okay,
the unfortunate.
but
Yeah.
but then why was he allowed? Oh, explain the stab to me.
That was. Oh, as far as like when
When
Cypher
when
like.
when he stabbed himself to prove a point to
Yeah.
polarity,
Yeah.
like it's gonna take like, and he didn't even wince.
Yeah.
And it's still, and then when polarity pushes him out of a two-story window,
Right.
like,
Because yeah, like it's like basically like what George just said. I mean, when Cypher's in your head, the actual person is pushed to the background. So Doug, all these years, Doug was just pushed to the back. So whenever Cypher just stabbed himself, stabbed himself in the hand, Doug didn't feel it because Doug wasn't there. I mean, just as far as just being a conscious entity, and and
well,
and
Doug did
clearly,
feel it. It's just that Cypher Godolkin didn't because Godolkin's in the driver's seat. Okay,
right,
that makes sense.
yeah,
So, and that's why it was bandaged that entire time. So,
right.
I'm not gonna belabor this because
Yeah,
I can
no, I mean,
already see this is gonna
basically,
become. I'm
yeah.
not accepting
Doug's
anything.
Doug's just basically just look. Doug is just a vessel. and
I
it just like
understand that. I
yeah, yeah,
understand that he's a vessel.
yeah.
Some of
So
the
we just have to
physical things that
yeah.
occurred to Doug as a
Mhm.
vessel doesn't add up to me, and I'm gonna just leave it at that. It's not gonna make
Oh,
sense to me.
that was why. Well, the last thing I'll say with on that point is whenever he, they said whenever they were like take cut off his head or whatever, that's why Cypher was like, oh yeah, you can do that, but I'll continue to live on because yeah, Doug will be dead, but I'll just find another host.
Yeah, like that makes sense, but some of the
Yeah,
actual physical stuff,
yeah, yeah. Boom.
a
Yeah.
little loosey goosey, a little loosey goosey.
It
Um,
just it doesn't fit to our earlier theory.
well, it's not that. It
I know.
doesn't
I
have to
just
fit.
we
I
don't have to
just
believe
need
it. Yeah.
it to
Yeah.
make sense. I just need
Yeah.
it to make sense to me. Um, I'm not about cutting corners, guys.
Moving on.
Yeah, do you wanna? Because honestly, I said what I wanted to say about this episode. I don't.
um. Well, no, I think we hit the major points. I mean, one of the things I did talk about forgiveness earlier. We did see. Yeah, I think Sam is, getting back to his. I think he's trying to make amends with everyone as well. And I guess we do see we learn a little bit more about Sam's powers and the whole. I did like the sort of the whole dick measuring contest between Sam and Jeff.
Mhm.
It was this oh, Greg, excuse me, Greg. Yeah, it was pretty funny. I mean, it's as far as we always could depend on like Emma's storyline to always have the the lighter moments in the episode. But yeah, I mean, it was it was a good penultimate, and we got set a lot of things up for the table, and definitely like leaned into the question of whether or not Marie will go villain or not, or to our earlier point, really gets or was she manipulated to to do all these things, and at the end of the day she will not go down the dark side, go down the dark path, because they're setting her up to be the foil for Homelander. And of course, Stan also was manipulating her as well, so um for his own
This
ends.
can't be all about Homelander.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
just
it's
gonna
not.
I'm just gonna say it. Like,
Yeah.
Homelander's going to die in season 5 of The Boys. So if we want Gen V to continue beyond, like, this can't be, let's set up
Oh,
Marie to do this thing with, like, I'm
oh,
so,
so do you think they're setting her up to be the replacement?
no.
Possibly. Oh, okay.
No, no,
Oh,
no.
okay.
I don't
Oh,
I
okay.
don't
Okay.
think that at all. When you said
Oh, okay. Okay.
foil like an adversary, I just, yeah.
Okay.
I don't think like she's not going to be she's very powerful, but
Mhm.
she's also testing her limits, and we're starting to see, we've seen glimpses that yeah, she can bring people back to life, but to an extent, at one point, if she's going to realize, like, she's also going to start trading lives, if you get what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Got it. Got it.
So I think that they're just pushing her. But I don't think she's gonna replace. It's way too soon.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Like no, there are plenty of
Well,
other
yeah.
assholes in this
Yeah.
world.
No. Well, the reason. Yeah. I just the reason why I just said that is the whenever we were just discussing a few minutes ago, I just thought with when you said too early and stuff and whatnot, I was like, oh, so you think season 5, once if Homelander meets his ultimate demise, um, which are they like? And also, when you said they're continuing Gen V, I was like, who's going to be the big bad? So that's where my head went there. That's all.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
could be a villain on Gen V. She's not gonna be like new Homelander or
Okay.
The Boys. The Boys is ending at season 5, right?
Yeah.
That's the last
Yeah.
season. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Anywho, so I know you explained to me how I'm supposed to transition, but so what do you want me to do here?
Oh, you're doing it.
Okay. Okay. You just
Yeah.
you kind of freaking me out when we were first starting the show. It's like,
Yeah.
well, what does he
Yeah.
want me to do?
Go ahead. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll
I-
drop. Yeah. We are good. Let's go.
Okay. All right. Severance, season 2, episode 1. Hello, Mrs. Cobel or Miss Cobel. Mark returns to work under different circumstances. Secrets from the world come to light. So, fun fact, embarrassing fact. Um, I was totally going to watch the previously on, and I inadvertently skipped it. And
Whoops.
so I did not watch the previously on. Was I confused? No, because I think this is one of the best episodes for a television show with so much lore to simultaneously remind the viewers about certain events, specifically in this case, the finale of season 1,
Hmm.
while also bringing not being an exposition dumps at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just still everyone is confused as hell. But I just I don't know what it is about the show, but I found it very easy to
Hmm.
be like, yeah, I remember that happening. I remember them talking about this. I remember the wife. I remember the dark hallway that leads to an elevator shaft with a downward arrow, which is actually where, if my memory serves correctly, is last time we saw Miss Casey.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I like this episode for that reason.
Yeah.
Um, as a whole, I feel like this episode, because we have to meet the new team, we're very much like Mark, where it's like this episode can be divided into two. The
Yeah.
new team portion, and then the band getting back together again portion. That's the episode. But I know you were trying to rewatch season 1
Oh,
before you watched season 2.
I did.
You did.
Yep. Yep. Rewatched start to finish. So yeah, and this show, I now I remember hearing about it, and so whenever we did turn on our Apple TV subscriptions, or at least I did, when we were discussing the studio earlier this year, I started the show then, and barely, just had to zip through it because I was trying to get it all completed. And so I definitely did a rewatch this go just to get ready for our discussions here. So I agree with you. The the way that they started this second season, where you know just basically that moment she's alive,
Mhm.
and it was very, it was very well done. The previous, I did watch the previously on as well, but I it did hit the key critical points, of season one, and also just really got you back into this world. And one of the things, I guess, the thing that stood out for me the most, in addition to the points about, like you said, setting up the new gang and also getting the band back together, but also I think the biggest thing that stood out to me when I was watching this first episode was it was all told from the Innies perspective. There was no outie at
Yes.
all. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I mean that is the same thing that stuck out to me is we were a innie in a trap cage at this
Mm-hmm.
point. Because we're told 5 months have passed since the events of season 1. Then again, take it with a grain of salt. Don't know if that's
Yep.
true. Can't really determine. Mark has returned to work, yet all of the 3 other cubicles have new faces, and his team is not there. And he's
Mhm.
informed by Melichek that he was the only one who wanted to return to work.
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
others did not, which
Mhm.
makes the second half of the episode that much more interesting and even beyond, because then like Mark pushes the what do they call it? What rebellion was it?
Oh,
Um
the
what are they called and known as?
the Innie, because it was, I know they were the video. There was the video that had Keanu Reeves like doing the house,
Yeah,
the tour
yeah.
of the building. Oh gosh, the Macrodat Uprising.
Yeah, the macro uprising notoriety, which is a big thing in Audi
Yeah.
world,
Mhm.
because the rules of severed people are still a very political, controversial topic up there, and the rights of
Yeah.
severed
Yeah.
people. So, so he then pushes that and is like, if you want reform, and then bring me back my team. And the next thing we
Mhm.
know, his team reappears, and then they're all given the choice as innies to stay or go. And
Mhm.
we very quickly see them all resolve to stay.
Yeah.
But what was interesting is, to your point, the entire episode is shown through the innie perspective. So given what we believe to have occurred or are told occurred with those 3, and I'm talking about Dylan, Irving, and Holly R,
Mhm.
they 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 experience, like Mark, the outer world, but also their outer world, um like I where I'm going with this is essentially, how did they even come back to begin with? Like, what
Mhm.
strings were pulled to
Yeah.
even get them to come back and reappeared? So I would like that mystery to be solved, within like the next 9 episodes. Um,
Yeah.
because I just want to know, not necessarily why they chose to stay, like
Mhm.
to not return, but more how they managed to, within the blink of an eye, push all 3 of them back into the, severed floor.
Yeah. 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 I mean, it was very, whenever, because whenever they had the choice to, and well, while they were in the lower room, wherever, when they were showing that new onboarding video, and
Mhm.
had the choice. And at each, I liked how they, how they you know paired the two, all, Dylan and Irvin off. And then, as far as like, Urban admits that how he, saw his Audi painting, with his,
The
with
elevator
Oracle.
shaft. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, the elevator shaft. And also how Bert was, with his partner. And and it was,
But
it was like, hmm, yeah, go ahead.
no, 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 you brought up Bert. For some reason, I thought you were gonna mention Dylan, but the pairing that occurs in, like, this sequence is the same pairing that occurs in the final episode of last
Hmm.
season.
Yeah.
So the pairings, I thought were good just because of their complicated relationships.
Hmm.
but what I thought was the most interesting with Dylan and Irving was more of the, is anybody going to question Dylan about what he saw? Because
Yeah, yeah,
he saw his family.
yeah.
And then that very thing is what Melichek manipulates to get him to
Mhm.
stay, and is like, now we are going to have a family visitation for the Innies. And then,
Yep.
which even gets more complicated when you think about the implications of what Mark is dealing with, considering his feelings for Holly are, or
Mhm.
Helly are, and
Yep.
his realization that Mrs. Casey, or the Miss Casey
Yeah.
in Audi world, was his wife.
Yes.
So
Yep.
like that whole thing of, okay, I'm married as an Audi, but as an Innie, I love you. I have a
Mhm.
family as an Audi, but as an Innie, I'm just a solo person. So is that, yeah, that is very crafty writing.
That was. I was so wrapped around that whole moment in when he and Helly were talking, that the whole conversation about him learning that his Audi self she's alive, and their feelings, and and then in particular how when they were all in the room there together, and
Mhm.
how and she learned that she's an Ingan, and and she just basically which was so it was so interesting when she just basically like lied to them about what she experienced whenever they were in the overtime period, um and when and not sharing the whole, that she was about, that she's part of the family that owns this company, and 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 then she just basically, and then the reason, I was kind of like, wow, especially given how hell bent she was on like trying to quit the first season. And now, she's choosing to stay in, but she just sort of told us lie to that, oh yeah, it was just kind of boring. I just like, it's just at my apartment, kind of thing. So that was just like, that was where I was just like, okay, where is this going to go, and why does she like not tell them what she experienced whenever, and who she is as an outie, in that moment
Why
when, yeah.
I I I understood why she wouldn't. I mean, she's the enemy. Like, and now as an Audi, if she was to tell them, "Hey guys, so just to let you know,
Mm,
when I was up top, I realized that I'm actually one of the people you guys hate."
yeah.
So I'm part of the problem. And so I think that's also why she stays, is because when faced with the outer world of who she is, where she comes from, she would now is like, I felt I don't belong out there. I like
Mm,
who I am in here. I
mm,
think
mm,
that's why as an innie she would choose to stay. And also
yeah,
the whole thing with Mark. I
yeah.
do believe her when she, because I think that, the more I think about this whole dynamic of what you just brought up with her, is, okay, if I'm right, then she mainly wants to help Mark find Casey as an
Mhm,
innie,
mhm.
because he says early on in that conversation, "Just so you know, I never felt that way about Miss
Yeah,
Casey."
yeah. That's true.
So, if they find her, and suddenly the idea the knowledge that as an Audi, he is married to her,
Mhm.
suddenly, like, and then finding her again as an innie, that's the true test of how he feels about Helly. Because
Yeah.
then it's the reality. Then it's like,
Mm.
okay, well, we're now you can prove to me that you never had feelings for her down here.
Mhm.
Because I
Right.
think also what Helly could be doing is being like, I can only be with him as an innie,
Mhm.
and he
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
only be with me as an innie.
As an any. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but the Casey of it all is so fascinating just because the whole implications of, because she's shown as alive in the outer world, right?
No.
No, she's
No.
not, but we just are shown that photo, right?
We're showing the photo. We're
We're
showing
shown
the
the photo.
photo.
So the
Yeah.
last time we see Casey as an innie is the dark hallway,
Mhm.
which for all intents and purposes, in my mind, until proven otherwise, indicates death
Yeah.
and hell.
Yeah. 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 Oh, yeah, they
Yeah.
definitely yeah. That seems to be the implication. It's that especially because the whole wellness area is gone and all that kind of stuff. Because I know because that's the whole whenever we start the episode,
Yep.
when Mark he's just like running down the labyrinth of all these halls and it was just so I mean it's just from just getting you back into the framework of the show
Mhm.
that with that start, it was just like, oh, yeah, I mean, I felt like I was going down a spiral with
Felt like I was
it's
just watching Tom Cruise run.
yeah, well,
Again and again and
different,
again.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I know you would, but that's how I felt.
No,
That's
no, no. I'm kind of also
yeah,
agreeing with you as well.
yeah.
There was something else that I just thought of and I completely forgot about.
All the throuple as far as Milichik.
No,
God, I was so
no.
sorry. Or Miss
The new
Wang.
team. And
Oh yeah.
and here's another thing about, I like the structure of this episode
Mm,
because if we think about it, the later half of the episode with the innies of our
mm,
original team and the contemplation to stay or go.
mm,
Dylan mentions something at the very, like, towards the beginning of the returning and finding out that they were all replaced. And he says to Mark about whatever happened to his new team, I don't think you should feel bad for ending their lives. I'm sure they deserved it. So, with
yeah.
that line, is the implication that that team, now that they are no longer there, they're dead? Like, and does that implication mean for innies as a whole, innies can only exist on the severed floor? So technically speaking, there is no stay or go. The real choice that they were given was either you can stay existing or you can
Mhm.
go and be non-existent.
As yeah, I I guess it becomes and I'm glad you brought that line up because does it mean a figurative death for the or a literal death for the any, but you can go back to your life as an outie like we saw with Bert when he
Yeah,
retired.
and what does that mean?
Yeah.
Like, to be in a severed person,
Mm,
but not work on that floor, or like
mm,
not go into that severed workplace at all. Like, I don't know.
yeah.
It's why shows like this work,
Mm-hmm.
because then you tap into the whole humanity and
Of it.
morality, and
Yep.
this is why we love science fiction.
Totally. Yeah. This is exactly. I was just thinking
Because
that. Yeah.
Because in the bizarre circumstances, you can suddenly find like a grain of like, oh, thinking about these higher level concepts of what it means to be a human and what it means to be alive and what it means to die and
Yeah,
all of that. So yeah, I'm glad that we're talking about it. I know we're late,
yeah.
but
This is yeah,
I did really like this episode, and I'm excited. I'm not as eager as I thought I would be to get to see like the next episode, but I also know that we have it planned out how we're
yeah,
tackling it. So I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
taking it drop by drop.
Oh yeah, no, no. I mean, this is a show that you need. You now. This is truly one where you do need time to like process it because there's to
Yeah.
your point what you just said before. It really does get into some metaphysical, philosophical. What because it's dystopian. It's like it's philosophical in a sense like what does it mean because one of the things too is just like what your identity and who you are.
Yes. Yes.
And yeah, and are you your career or are you more? I mean, it's just so many levels of this show that you can just peel back with it. So yeah, I'm just glad that it's an evergreen show, thankfully, and I'm glad we're finally like on finally we're finally able to to talk about it because I know we didn't talk about season 1 years ago, but I'm glad we're talking about season 2.
Okay. I'm slow.
Yeah,
So, and you did say this to me earlier, and I mentioned follow up. What does an evergreen show mean?
I mean it's just timeless.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, just basically, it's like no matter, it's just like pine trees. It's just like no matter what season and it's just to your point that you were just sharing why this show, whether you're watching it in 20,
Yeah.
when it first came out or now, whenever you pick it up, it's always going to be topical.
Yeah. I think it's a bit premature to call it an evergreen show.
Well,
It only
I
was
mean,
released. The second season only premiered
yeah,
in
but
January of this year.
yeah,
Or
but
not
season,
that
yeah,
late.
but no, but season 1, it wasn't like season 1 was like this big, like, oh, you must run and get out, go watch Apple. It was like later on when it gained momentum over time, and I
Oh,
mean, hell, yeah. So,
yeah, but I don't think it was like a cult classic or anything.
oh, it was a cult. It was,
I
it
don't think
was.
so. I don't think
It was a
so.
cult. It was a cult. Yeah, it was a cult
Okay.
classic. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, what?
Okay.
Yeah, I
I'm
think it
just
was.
gonna
Yeah.
agree because he's just gonna repeat it.
Well,
Okay.
folks, if you're, yeah, let the people speak. Was it an evergreen? Is it a cult classic or not? I think it was, but you don't. So we'll put it to a
Well,
poll.
what's your definition of a cult classic?
I mean, I mean, it's just
Because to me that
yeah.
implies it flopped. And I
No,
don't
not
think
necessarily.
it flopped. I heard
I
about it
don't.
from the time it was released and then on.
No, I mean, a cult classic doesn't necessarily mean a flop. A cult classic is a very niche thing, but some over time it grows because of word of mouth.
Right.
So
Okay. We're gonna work on our shared definitions moving
yeah,
forward.
yeah. Well, that's the great thing about it. I mean, yeah. I mean, we'll probably come to somewhere. We'll
I
probably
shouldn't have
agree
brought
somewhere
it
in the
up. I
middle.
should have not. I should have waited till post show to bring it up. We were ending on such a lovely moment, and I had to make a comment, and that has let us spiral. So all I
No,
will
no, no.
say is on that note, Will, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me wherever you get your socials at Will and Polk, WILLMPOLK.
And you can find me there too at SJ Belmont, SJBELMONT. Please follow our crew on Twitter at Scene and Nerd, on Blue Sky. Friend us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and threads at scene_n_nerd, and visit our website, www.sceneandnerdpodcast.com. But most importantly, rate, follow, and comment on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Good night, Geek Out. You're welcome.